Welcome to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show, where you'll learn the ins and outs of buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Our 1-hour program airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. and repeats Sundays at noon, and offers new topics and discussion each and every week. Learn how to sell your home for more money and how to be savvy when buying a home. With over 35 years of experience each, let's now join your local experts, Wally and Cindy Kerr, along with your host, Dave McKay, for this week's live show.
Yes, and we're back for another star-studded edition of the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show. I'm your host, Dave McKay.
Let's slow down here. Yeah. Where are the stars? Is there somebody coming that, my wife Cindy's here, right?
Well, she is the star.
But you did say plural, so is there somebody else coming? Yeah, I guess it's you and Cindy that are the stars.
I'll take that. I'm feeling kind of, it's a wonderful day. The weather is fantastic. Yes. I love the warmer temperatures. It's a great day.
And it's a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to you. I know you're the father of one. Thank you. Tim is now how old?
21.
It's amazing.
Yes,
absolutely amazing.
It's fantastic. 21, so we get to celebrate in style. We'll have a little fun this weekend. Yes. The show is always brought to you by Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. Boy, he's going to have a Father's Day.
Oh, baby.
Right? He's got 5 daughters?
He has 5 daughters. Chris, happy Father's Day to you. If you tune in with us this weekend, I bet he's going to have an awesome day.
Yes, and also Alan Cook with Best Protect Roofing and Construction. Wally, what do we have on tap for today?
Well, Dave, we were going to talk about investing originally. I mentioned that on last week's show because we get calls from investors, and if they see what they think is the right home available online, they'll call and ask. And most of these homes that investors would buy, there's multiple offers from home buyers who are willing to give typically more for the home. For an investor, it's got to be a good piece of utility that cash flows, right?
Sure.
For a home buyer, it's just something they want to buy and live in. So tell you what, let's push the investing segment back off for a few months. The market is red hot below 250 and really below about $300,000. So we'll do that at a different time. Instead, Dave, Cindy's been doing a great job on bringing some topics to the table. Dave, we've done between 75 and 80 shows together.
Oh, wow.
Fresh topics I'm running out of, okay?
Okay.
I'm at the end of the rope about to fall into the river with the gators because I'm having a hard time coming up with fresh content. But Cindy's done a great job, and she brought to us today the 1/5 rule. We're also going to talk about why it's harder than ever for appraisers in this market. And I think this will raise some eyebrows today. Also, some examples of good buys you can make using one of those rehab loans that we talked about with Chris Doak last weekend.
Yes.
If we get a little time at the end of the show today, Dave, we'll talk about what to expect for the housing market in the second half of 2024. It was an article that you may have seen a couple of days ago online by CNBC, and I thought it had some great points. So we're going to move fast. We got a lot to talk about today.
And if you're tuning in for the first time, this show is fantastic. You're going to find all the expertise you need for buying, selling, and of course investing, which we will get into at a later date.
You bet.
In real estate. You can literally become an expert with the knowledge. I can attest to that. Like you just said, 75, 80 shows. Something has to get through this melon, right? I mean, it has. It's soaking in.
You've been like this huge sponge, like you said, soaking in, and it's amazing how much, maybe on topics that we've only talked about once, or maybe brushed on a second time, and you've really got that down.
Well, I'm really excited. The next time that Kim and I are in the market for buying a home, when we want to sell our home, I'm going to have so much knowledge, so much from really months ahead of time preparing our home and getting it ready to the whole process, what to do after. And if I only retain 1/5 of that, which we'll get to with Cindy later on, I don't know if that really has, but I know that we have 1/5 of something we're going to talk about. But yes, I have learned so much. And you can too, just by tuning in every Saturday at 11 a.m. We go all the way up until noon. And speaking of noon, Sundays at noon is when we have the replay.
Right.
And then during the week on all the podcast networks, and go to wallytalkshouses.com. 75 to 80 shows are there. The good ones are when Cindy joins us. You can still get some good information, but
we had a listening audience of 2 for about our first 50 shows until we got some class in on this show.
Thank you.
That's right. Family members joined us when she came in, right?
They're like, she's got to make that show better. Certainly she would, right?
Absolutely. Stick around. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to kick it all off next.
Could your home sell faster and for more money if it were in better condition? For one reasonable flat fee, we're willing to advance you the money to make needed repairs or improvements when you list your home for sale with us. It's Kerr Team's Get Your Home Ready program, allowing you to sell your home faster and for more money. Call Wally at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty today at 330-3000 to find out more. And remember, if you're selling your home, Wally has the buyers. Call me today at 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful. From knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 330-3000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Wally has the buyers at Kerr Team Real Estate. Simply text your address to 330-3000.
Do you know of someone planning to sell or buy a home in the near future? You can help them make the best possible decision when you rely on Wally and Cindy's 35 years of real estate expertise in the local market. Sell your home faster and for more money, and make informed decisions when buying or investing by calling 330-3000. Now back to the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally, Cindy, and your host, Dave McKay.
Well, Wally, the last couple of weeks, we've kind of kicked off the show with some really cool stuff that's coming to the Metro. Maps has really generated a lot of revenue for the city.
Oh, absolutely.
That we're putting it to good use, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. You got some trivia and stuff about Father's Day. Father's Day is tomorrow if you're listening Saturday. If it's Sunday, happy Father's Day. But you got little tidbits you wanted to share with us.
Well, I do. You know, we discussed the origin of Mother's Day about a month ago, and I won't repeat that because our listeners can go back and find that show at Wally Talks Houses. But I've always been the guy that has agreed with the sentiment of fathers don't have the same appeal that mothers have. I mean,
Sure.
Moms are very special, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I know as fathers, we feel like we are too.
Yeah, with moms, we have more of an app that we want to make plans with them. We want to go visit them if they're not nearby, but if they are, take them out to brunch, take them out to lunch, get them a little plant, get them some gifts or whatnot. Father's Day is drop the card in the mail. I got it taken care of.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. Dave, the origin of Father's Day is on July 5th of 1908, there was a West Virginia church that sponsored the nation's first event that was explicitly in honor of fathers. And it was a Sunday sermon, and it was in memory of 362 men who had died the previous December in explosions at the Fairmont Coal Company mines in Monongah, West Virginia. It was only a one-time commemoration, and it wasn't an annual holiday.
Okay.
They just wanted to honor these 362 men. But the next year, a Spokane, Washington woman named Sonora Smart Dodd tried to establish an official equivalent to Mother's Day for male parents. So she went to local churches, she went to the YMCA, to shopkeepers and government officials to drum up support for her idea. And she ended up being successful.
That's
so
cool.
Washington State celebrated the nation's first statewide Father's Day on June 19th of 1910. Now get this. In 1916, President Wilson honored the day, Father's Day, by using telegraph signals to unfurl a flag in Spokane while he pressed a button in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
And then in 1924, President Calvin Coolidge urged state governments to observe Father's Day, and it slowly became what it is today.
And coming up soon, it could be Father's Day of next year. There's going to be even more stuff to do in the metro area, especially right here in Oklahoma City. Stuff coming to Oklahoma City. We've been kind of going over this again because you went to a Rotary luncheon where the speaker was a gentleman from, I think it's from the city or the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Zach Craig was our guest that day. That's right.
Mentioning a lot of really cool things. We've been talking about that. So please carry on with that. A couple of more stuff coming to the city.
Sure. I've been telling Cindy about some of these because she was not at that meeting that day. She was really excited about this one. one. Let's talk about the modernization of the National Cowboy and Western Heritage
Cool.
Museum. So there are some major campaign efforts, Dave, that include transforming the museum's exhibits by creating just some best-in-the-world experiences to teach and
Cool.
interpret the diverse history of the West. So what I've seen is more digital type stuff.
Okay.
You know, that's been outdated for a while. Now, it's been a long time since I've been in.
The last time we were there, it was mostly paintings, but it would really be neat to see some tech.
Interactive stuff.
Yes,
That's exactly
Where we
right.
could really see
absolutely.
stuff come from the Old West to now. And how
Yes.
Oklahoma has really been all the history of riding horses and cowboys in Oklahoma.
You know, to me, it's that if these walls could talk, or if I were there at this time. When I did cattle drives out in western Oklahoma, we actually went across the Great Western Cattle Drive that went from Texas to Kansas, where they drove cattle. And you know what was interesting is the wagon wheel ruts are still in the earth from the 1800s.
How can that be?
I don't know, but it just
You'd
made
think with
such,
rain and stuff that would wash
it
that
made
out.
such an impression in
Wow.
the earth because they used the same route over and over.
Well, Dave, at the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, the updates have already begun, and that project's expected to take about 3 years.
Okay.
I wanted to save this one, Dave, because Juneteenth is coming up. It's updates and improvements to the Clara Looper Civil Rights Center here in Oklahoma City. So that's really called the Freedom Center. It's home of the local civil rights movement, and it's going to be renovated. It's a new 5-acre campus, and just adjacent to the building that exists, it's going to include a cafe and a welcome center and some outdoor event spaces, along with an educational and community gathering place that honors our most famous civil rights pioneers. And that's warm to my heart.
That's gonna be really
I really
neat.
like that that's happening. Finally, have you heard about the halfway between Oklahoma City and Edmond? Just south here on Broadway, the half will soon be home to Andretti's Indoor Karting and
yes, I did
Games.
hear about this.
This is going to be a 96,000 square foot facility. It's going to feature a lot of things, including electric supercarts, zip lining, rock climbing. It'll have a full service sky bar and more. And that entertainment venue's grand opening is expected to be sometime
Is that
next
near
year.
out? Okay, that's right over here, Flick's Brew House and Chicken
Right
and
next to
Pickle.
Flick's Brew House, that's right.
That's really growing. That's so cool.
Going to be a real neat entertainment district again between Oklahoma City and Edmond, and that's why they call this the half.
So much to do in Oklahoma City as it is now, and so much more. Again, going to bring even more revenue to the state, which is great. A lot more visitors, like you talked about. And I really like the idea of the half, which is coming just down the road here. A little less than the half is 1/5. But no less important. Now, Cindy, why are we going to be talking about 1/5 rule? Is that what you guys called it, the 1/5 rule? What does that have to do with selling your home or buying a home or real estate in general?
You know, statistically, if you can take 4/5 of the items out of your kitchen, out of your bedroom closets, you will actually have a better chance of selling your house. Can you imagine only having 1/5 of your clothes, 1/5 of your shoes?
I would be left with flip-flops and Hawaiian shirts.
You need to go to Margaritaville, Dave.
Yes.
What about Cindy? Do you think you could actually pare down our kitchen cabinets and drawers and really only leave 1/5 of the plates and the glasses and the pans and the utensils if we were moving again?
I wasn't sure I could, or I wasn't sure that would be advisable. But I read this article, and they actually had pictures. And they had pictures of kitchen cupboards with, obviously, just 1/5 of the plates and cups and glasses. And do you know what? It really allowed me, looking at that picture, to see the depth of the cupboard, the width of the cupboard, and to imagine that that cupboard would be big enough for all the things that I would have.
When we go to consult with someone about listing their home for sale, Dave, people will say, now you're not going to take pictures of the insides of my closets, are you? Like this storage closet in the hallway because it's full. And our advice always is, if a buyer comes in and it looks like you're out of storage space, they're going to envision the very same things for
very
themselves.
important. And we did that. We took your advice, got a storage unit, and we put everything in there, and that made our moving so much easier as well, because when we were ready to go, we just had a little bit of stuff left in the house. But our house looked so nice for
You
just a few
decided
weeks
to
we lived in it.
stay.
Well, yeah, we kind of thought, why are we moving? But we knew why. But it made the process so much easier. And yes, it looked so much nicer.
Just pre-pack instead of calling it staging. We call it pre-packing to move.
That's
right?
exactly what I have said to many, many sellers. It's pre-packing, and you know what? It does two things for you. It's going to make your house sell faster, and it's also going to be very convenient because you'll have those things in storage, and then when you buy your new home and move into it, you can move them out of storage at your leisure in an organized way.
Dave, can you name the 6 types of clutter, and then tell us if you have any of these in your house?
I would have to say, is clothing still a type of clutter? Because like I said, when we're getting ready to move, or even now, I would say a lot of our closets, we got maybe too much clothing in there. Although, I'll say real quick plug, California Closets. We redid our closet.
I love that.
Got rid of some of the clutter, which we needed to do. So I think we're down to about 4/5 of our clothes. We got rid of a fifth. And it has really helped out. So I would think that's the big one for me, right?
That is the number one. And I'll tell you, not only clothes, but shoes. Sometimes there's shoes you just don't wear anymore. In our last house, Wally had his shoes, and I did too, all over the floor in our closet. You couldn't vacuum under there. When we moved everything out, there were a few Spideys under there.
Yes, there were.
And so now we have a shoe rack, so our shoes are up off the floor, and it's only so large, so we had to eliminate some shoes. Old jewelry is another thing that goes along with those clothes. You know, you keep this stuff, maybe you inherited it from your aunt if you're a woman and you're keeping it. It's just costume jewelry, time to get rid of it. Another one is childhood clutter.
This sentimental stuff's hard for me to throw away, though. It really is. I threw a little statue cleaning out the shop in the last 2 weeks that I made when I was 7.
Okay.
But I hadn't seen it up in the shop for 7 years and just thought, haven't touched it in 7 years. Time to get rid of some of that childhood clutter.
That's our third thing, sentimental clutter. Cards, drawings, knickknacks. We were getting rid of things, and I found a belt, Wally, that you made in your leather class. It said Wally on it.
She threw my belt away.
I threw that. How old were you when you made that?
Well, I don't know. I was probably about a waist 27, and I'm a 33 today, so it wasn't going to fit. But I spent a lot of time. Oh, well.
Now,
I'm glad it's gone.
Yep.
Because I hadn't seen it in forever. So, okay, well, I got to think about it. That's going to mess up the rest of the show. I'm thinking about that belt being gone.
Number 4, I know you both have, and you're guilty of this. And I'll start with you, Dave. Tech clutter. Tell us about that.
Probably some old turntables, boxes of CDs. CDs may not come back around, but albums always keep coming back around. So I've hung on to vinyl, and I still like playing those. So.
It's interesting, though, along with tech clutter, how about spare phones that you don't use anymore? How about chargers and cables, and you don't know what they belong to?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, we got rid of a box of those. And entertainment clutter, you just mentioned that, Dave, old CDs. How about old DVDs of cartoons and that your kids watched? Your 21-year-old when he was little, and you still got all those cartoons. And finally, paper clutter. And this means bills, letters, documents.
That would be hard to, I think, get rid of. I feel like there's going to be a reason I might need documentation. That might be the last thing I would think to get rid of. It's probably really hard for a lot of people to declutter would be documents, right?
Why not scan that stuff and just make a PDF on your desktop?
Okay, there. He just blew my theory out of the water.
There you go.
Yes.
No, my son's on me all the time. I'll have something laying on my desk, and he says, Dad, do you need that? I was going to put something on top of it. Yeah, Chad, I'm going to need that. He says, Dad, just scan it. Make it an icon
But
on
I
your desktop.
can't because Cindy just told me to get rid of the old scanner that I had. So I don't have a scanner anymore.
Dave, don't throw away the working stuff.
And,
That's right.
There's some good habits you can adopt. Now, we have all our mail sent to the office, and we're lucky because we have our own office and we can do that. But if you have your mail, bills, junk mail coming to your home, you just have to be disciplined. Walking from your mailbox into your house, no, don't set it on your kitchen counter because it just stacks up. You need to walk right to the trash can and throw it away or shred it.
Hey, stick around. Our next segment, you're going to want to listen to the whole segment, not just a fifth of it. It's Wally's Weekly Wisdom, and that's coming up next.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which which program fits your situation the best, identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 330-3000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Wally has the buyers at Kerr Team Real Estate. Simply text your address to 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Did you get an offer for your home from Open Door and it was just too low? Find out what your home is really worth in today's market and how much we'd pay for your home. Call Wally at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000 and let's talk. 330-3000.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy along with Dave McKay.
All right, it's time for...
Drum
if you can hear my
roll.
little drum roll.
That's only because we can't afford a drummer on the show.
That's right. One of our favorite segments, a very informative segment, it's Wally's Weekly Wisdom.
Got a great one for you this week, Dave, and it happened this last week. One of my friends from Rotary and his wife Lee are moving back from Alabama. Kelly showed them homes on my team. They contracted for a home. So part of the inspections, they saw a little bit of what appeared to be mildew, maybe some light mold inside a room. We were curious about where that came from and thought maybe it was from the shower or tub area because it was in the master closet. Instead, Dave, this is an instance of bigger not being better. So here's what happened. The home was built in the late 90s. They'd replaced the heat and air system, but they had asked the contractor to upsize the outside air conditioner unit to where it was larger, figuring that it wouldn't have to run as long. Bigger is better.
That sounds plausible to me. I would do that.
That makes sense to me.
Well, here's what happened.
Okay.
So the mildew and or light mold coating inside the home was because the unit was too big for the house.
Okay.
It was not having to run as long to cool the house down. Therefore, it wasn't dehumidifying the home enough to take the moisture out of the property and ended up with a coating of
that's
light mold inside the property.
Interesting.
And so this is something that our owners need to understand is when a new installation's done, Dave, contractors design typically a system around the cubic feet of a room and the house because that includes the ceiling heights.
When we built our house, the HVAC contractor actually designed the system to work in our house.
So if you go back and that was designed and it was probably done right from the start, to go in and maybe you're calling a contractor that you heard about from Uncle Bob, maybe it's a smaller operation. I would think that most contractors would know how to size these units, but there is some science that goes into what size unit should I put in. And so there's an issue inside this home. We called a local contractor who has a great reputation. They came out and said, that exists because the unit is oversized. It's too big.
So what's the solution?
So the solution is for our buyers is they've gone to the seller who really doesn't want to have to take all this on. They've asked for a cash concession on purchasing the property. There were a couple of other issues also. Looks like at least that air conditioning side of the system needs to be replaced to go back to the properly sized unit. And Dave, as I thought about that in our weekly wisdom today, I had a home listed for sale maybe 2 years ago. The owners had moved. They wanted to keep those thermostats as high as possible inside the home.
Yes.
So they asked me to set those thermostats at 80 to 82. When I have a home that's going to show, I typically put the toilet lids down. Just looks a little more proper, right?
Yes.
So a couple of times I went in the home, lifted the toilet lid just to check out and make sure the toilets weren't dry, that nobody used the restroom in a vacant home on a showing. And sure enough, on the inside of the commode lid, when you put it up, there was a black ring. And that tells you and I that Water was beginning to evaporate.
Yes.
The circulation of the air was not good, and it was beginning to form a light coating of mold or mildew inside on that toilet lid because the lids were down. So it reminded me of what I've heard from so many heat and air contractors over the years, and that is, let's say you go out of town and go to Europe for a month.
Sure.
It's the middle of the summer and you don't want to run up your bills. I have definitely seen people raise their thermostats above 80 degrees. And what heat and air contractors will tell you is you have to dehumidify that air in the home. So homes have to breathe.
Yes.
I've gone in many homes over the years, whether upstairs or downstairs, and the owners have shut the bedroom doors, turned the air conditioning way up or off, but the house can't breathe and pull in return air. Think about that. Let's imagine that an upstairs bedroom faced the sun and that room jumped up to 85, 86 degrees. If the door is shut, the return air vent that's probably in the hallway can't sample that air. It's not running the system long enough, and you've got humidity going on in the home and in the bathroom areas. Let's get a reputable contractor out to the home to take a look at it and make sure the right size unit is going in to replace the one that existed.
Well, this kind of gives me a really good segue, because would that be something that an appraiser would look at and really take into account the value of the home because of the HVAC system not working as it should, and that could create issues in the home, and that could create a variance in the value of the home? I'm getting very convoluted in the weeds with this.
That's okay, Dave. I think I know where you're going, and that is a great question. So the truth is, appraisers are only required to check and make sure the operation of the heat and air system, that it's working. On government loans, FHA and VA, conventional appraisers typically don't have to report that.
And you know, Dave, appraisers, when you mention that, they really are working harder than ever right now because there's fewer sales. You know, when an appraiser establishes value, it's not just a feeling. They have to go with data, and they have to go with comparable sales. That means homes that are similar, that have closed in the last year, square footage, year built, location, amenities, and it's harder than ever for them to find these comparable sales to establish value.
So there's a lot of data that goes into that to create that value. So if there's been fewer sales like there have been over the last year, how do they draw their final conclusion on an appraisal of a home, and could that really kind of throw things off?
Yeah, you've hit an important point here, Dave, because the appraiser has to justify a value to the mortgage company. So think about how many home sales there were over the last 2 or 3 years. Market was super hot in 2020 through, say, 2022. And think about how the market's changed since then. You know, I saw one recently, an appraiser trying to do an analysis for a home that was in a very small neighborhood. First of all, there weren't many homes anyway. And now you've got owners sitting on their low interest rates today, especially over the last 12 to 18 months. They have no interest in selling because if they move, the interest rate goes up. So it's just really created a tangle for appraisers trying to find comparable sales, especially in smaller neighborhoods, out on acreages where people don't want to move. Maybe it's some of the bigger homes where, you know, like Gaillardia, you know, unless you're buying cash, the price in Gaillardia and in many areas of Nichols Hills are very, very high.
Yes.
And in Edmond. So it's really caused an issue. Appraisers, I think, are working very, very hard because, first of all, their work gets reviewed by an underwriter. And the underwriter knows how to dissect that appraisal and either approve or reject the appraiser's opinion.
And you know, in some cases, these appraisals are being sent to a second set of eyes at the mortgage company because prices have gone up so much. They're really making sure every I's dotted, every T's crossed, so that if that borrower doesn't pay back that loan in a timely fashion and that lender has to take that property back, they don't want to be caught short.
Yeah, I was going to jump in there and say, what does that do to the timeline? Because that's going to stretch it out a little bit. And with the low inventory, prices rising, people want to make sure if they can jump in on an interest rate that is good for them, then I think they're going to get pretty anxious and they want to get that appraisal back. But you're almost mentioning it could take a little bit longer than expected.
It could. And, you know, the solution to that is pay for your appraisal and order it early. Now, we have seen some buyers who don't want to do that because they want to make sure their home inspection is going to go off smoothly and that they're going to get agreement with the seller as far as the repairs that are going to need to be done.
That's right.
But actually, the fact is, if they can get that appraisal ordered earlier, recognizing that it's taking these appraisers longer, that's really going to be better in the long run.
And Dave, again, I've had several appraisals recently that just took longer for the appraiser to complete. So appraisers are asked to send in an appraisal typically within 72 hours after they look at the home.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of appraisers really working hard to hit a value. Let's say a home is sold for $300,000 and the appraiser is really struggling to find enough data and comparable sales. And they've typically got to have 3 or 4 comparable sales. As Cindy said, location, size, year built, something that is truly comparable within the neighborhood. See some of these appraisers taking longer to get these jobs done. So if the buyer waits to order the appraisal and then the appraiser says, hey, I'm working on this, you can rush me and it's not going to appraise for the sales price, or give me a little extra time. Let me see what kind of comparable data I can find that the underwriter's going to be okay with, because I can't just tell the underwriter, I think it's worth that.
Sure.
I've got to prove it on paper.
Something just kind of struck me. If the house sold for $300,000, and let's just say that the seller was initially selling the home for $295,000, and it gets multiple offers, and one of the offers is $300,000. Does an appraiser, do they have an idea in their head, or do they always take that dollar amount and they have to justify that? Are we actually really getting what the true value of that house is, or it's close enough that it can justify the sales price?
No, actually, with an appraisal, it is the facts and only the facts.
Okay.
And an appraiser is going to, no matter what the sales price was, look at those comparable sales. They have books that dictate what the adjustments can be for each amenity, and they are going to provide what that value is. It may not be what the buyer and seller want, but
Sure.
the facts are that they're going to use those comparable sales, and they're going to determine market value for that property on that day.
Dave, people wonder why that appraisal got such high regulation behind it. And the truth is the appraiser's got to follow specific guidelines that are set out by Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, not just by the lender, because they want to be able to sell the loan in the secondary marketplace. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy mortgage paper. They buy packages of mortgage paper.
Okay.
That appraisal has to be done to specific guidelines. And that's what the underwriters at the mortgage company are looking at is, was this done to Fannie Mae guidelines so that we can go sell this paper? Now, if it's a second mortgage or an in-house loan like a bridge loan, banks can do their own appraisal and hold that in-house, and that may not have to necessarily be to Fannie Mae's guidelines.
You know, Wally was visiting with an appraiser recently, and they were talking about their job and how tough it is. That back in 2020, what did that appraiser tell you, Wally? He was just exhausted.
Cranking them out,
Right.
right?
They were all working
Yes.
so hard 2020 to 2022, and now I think they're working just as harder after running on fumes as hard as they did for many, many years, trying to find enough data. I remember a quick instance 2 years ago where it took an appraiser almost 3 weeks to turn in an appraisal.
wow.
The sellers were upset. The buyer was upset. We were beginning to wonder what was going on. It was a home that had a walkout basement, but that appraiser was working so hard in the background to bring that appraisal in at purchase price or higher, and she got it done. It was a lot of work, and she needed the time. I think I remember even at one point calling and saying, are we going to get this back? And she said, I can turn it in today, but it's not going to come in at value, and I can't discuss value with you, Wally. If you'll hang in there, I'm trying to make this work.
Because she didn't have all of the available data, like we just talked about
And it
earlier.
takes a lot of investigation and a lot of work for her to get that.
And
So
why is
how-
the data not available? Because people aren't selling their
Yes,
homes like they were
yes.
2 years ago. It's a big round robin around the mulberry bush, but I want to give appraisers a pat on the back
Yes.
for how hard they work and the way they're trying to make real estate deals work, but they do have to prove a value. So if an appraisal comes in low and you've got a question, gosh, call me, email it to me. I'll take a look at it. But in general, I can tell you that I think appraisers are underpaid for the work that they do. I just love appraisers for everything they do, and I'll help them any way that I
So
can.
right
in their
now,
job.
how likely is a low appraisal on an average home today with the low data that they have to work with?
We are seeing a few come in, and mostly it is due to a lack of data. So be sure you price your home right. call us and Cindy and I will help you in pricing your home right, getting it staged up, creating more demand for your home so that you can get offers over and above full price. But yeah, appraisals are a trick today.
Very interesting and good, timely information, with June typically being, you would say, the busiest month of the year for home sales.
Typically is.
So hopefully that means more data for the appraisers as well. We talked a little bit last week with Chris Doak about rehab loans, and we're going to talk about examples of good buys you can make with a rehab loan coming up next. Stick around.
Hey, it's Wally. Don't forget that I'll sell your home guaranteed at a price agreeable to you or buy it myself for more than most investors will pay. To get my guarantee in writing, call or text me today at your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty at 330-3000. 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Could your home sell faster and for more money if it were in better condition? For one reasonable flat fee, we're willing to advance you the money to make needed repairs or improvements when you list your home for sale with us. It's Kerr Team's Get Your Home Ready program, allowing you to sell your home faster and for more money. Call Wally at your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty today at 330-3000 to find out more. And remember, if you're selling your home, Wally has the buyers. Call me today at 330-3000.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy, along with Dave McKay.
Well, Wally, over the last few years, as home values really jumped as much as they have, especially from 20 to 22, 23.
Right, absolutely.
Investors are everywhere. They're trying to grab up these properties that they know they can turn around, they can flip for a quick profit, income for lease or rent tenants.
Just buy and hold and rent it for a few years and then turn it for a profit.
Absolutely.
Home values continue to appreciate, right?
We talked with Chris Doak last week about rehab loans, and do these loans offer an advantage if, say, I'm going to buy and I'm going to live in it and it's my primary residence, maybe more than what an investor can or cannot do with this? Does it help me out? Or investors, do they do this as well? I think they do when they flip the homes, but is it an easier proposition for someone like me?
You know, on FHA loans, investors can't go in and do a rehab, but on conventional and VA, according to Chris Doak, those rehab loans are available. Dave, on that FHA loan, even though it's not available to investors, it's called a 203K rehab loan. And it's a loan that requires a minimum of $5,000 to be borrowed to make improvements on the home and up to a maximum of $35,000 for qualifying improvements. And I've got some great examples of this today where someone can win out over an investor if you plan to buy and live in a home.
Okay, so explain real quickly, what is a qualifying improvement?
Okay.
You said that and I wasn't sure.
Good question. So that's simple, Dave. It's just things you would plan to do in a home that an appraiser agrees will raise the home's value.
Okay.
So here's an example. In the Greens here in Oklahoma City over at 122nd and Lake After Parkway.
Yes.
Love the Greens and the Greens area and the Greens Golf Club. Dave, there's a 2,500 square foot home that I saw on the multi-list this week for $185,000 in that golf course community. It's only about $72 per foot. I mean, does that sound like an opportunity to you?
Well, yes, absolutely. And I would think, what are the values like in that neighborhood for the most recent sales? I might think that might be down a little bit. And I know we're going to go into this with the rehab loans and everything where that value is going to go up. But are there comparable sales in that neighborhood to a price point like that?
Oh, absolutely. So this home up at $72 per foot, the comps are between $134 a foot and actually go all the way up to $191 a foot.
Wow.
That's almost $120 a foot higher than this home that's for sale for $72 a foot. Now, that home at 191 is a beautiful remodel, and it's on the golf course. This particular home needs a lot, and it might require a construction loan instead of a rehab. So let's talk about another one instead. Cindy told me about a 2,486-foot home in Oklahoma City this week for $182,500, and it was built in 1976. And as I looked online, it just said it needed some TLC. It didn't say major remodeling.
Okay.
This is a perfect example of a home that would be available for a rehab, which would be a reasonable amount of money somebody could borrow to do the improvements that are needed that an appraiser would agree with. Now, Dave, she brought one third one to my attention this week, and up front I thought, wow, Mustang, half-acre lot, 2,200 square feet for $205,000. What's up with this? Read a little deeper, and this particular listing stated that mold is present in the home.
You know, you talked about qualifying improvements, though. Talk about that, Wally, what this rehab lender would want to see for qualifying improvements.
Yeah, sure. It could be things like maybe the roof shingles are old. Maybe the house on the outside has some old rotted siding and you want to go in and do concrete board, what we often call hardy board.
Yes.
It could be a deck that's rotted on the back of the home.
Could be floor coverings. It
Floor
could be
coverings,
tile.
perhaps.
It
Maybe-
could be carpet.
Maybe it needs to be painted. Maybe it's got acoustic ceilings, and I think an appraiser might agree with getting the popcorn down. But one of the big ones, Dave, is we all know that remodeling kitchens and bathrooms typically provide a 100% return. So if you bought a home that has older kitchen cabinets and countertops on the inside, maybe older appliances, or the bathrooms are dated, if you were going to buy one, you would have to do this $203K up front. That's not available to you after you've already purchased it,
Okay.
unless you refinance.
Hey, let me ask you, since there may not be a lot of rehab loans out there for investors, but there are certainly some for investors and owner-occupied homes, people
Right.
living in their homes as well. What are some of those rehab loans that are available to both?
I looked those up because I figured our listeners might want to know about them. So Fannie Mae has a program called the Homestyle Renovation Mortgage, and then Freddie Mac has what's called the Choice Renovation Loan. And those are really favored for their flexibility, and they're typically utilized for substantial renovation projects like what we're talking about, a house that's got mold or it's got major problems with the home or just going to be one of those
Structural.
big remodels that might
Okay.
be $70,000 to $100,000 or more. That home-style renovation loan, though, Dave, actually permits luxury and energy-efficient improvements provided that they add value to the home. And again, that's probably
Okay.
going to be the appraiser that sets that out.
Sure.
Dave, these loans might have higher credit score and down payment requirements, but they could also eliminate the need for ongoing mortgage insurance when you've got that 20% down payment, right, that we talked
Yeah.
about last week. And selecting a qualified contractor is critical because the lenders want to typically require the renovations to be completed by a licensed professional,
Oh, sure.
not by
That's
Wally or Uncle
understandable.
Bob,
Not by
okay?
Uncle Bob.
Unless
Yeah.
Uncle Bob is qualified.
Yes.
The lender needs to approve the contractor's plans before releasing the funds, and the project should typically commence within 30 days of loan closing. And most of these programs want the improvements completed within 6 months, in some cases a year. That just depends on the lender's guidelines. It's important for the listeners to understand, Dave, that if they find a home that needs updating or improvements, replacing old windows, roof shingles, these things we talked about, it's really important to understand they can borrow this money up front at the same as their interest rate so that they keep,
Oh, they're slush fund.
that's it.
That's
Keep that money in the bank.
That's exactly right, Dave. Now a home buyer doesn't have to wipe out their bank account when buying. And so they can make improvements in the first 6 to 12 months, or they could buy the refrigerator or things that they need. And, you know, I love this because it opens the opportunity to some homes that I think home buyers right now are just putting up a red flag to and saying no.
Sure, they can make it their home. It's not their home now. They can make it their home.
Absolutely. And they're not having to fight all these buyers for that one house. We have one right now on the market that's got how many offers? It's under 250.
At this time, there are 9 offers on the property. That's right.
This might open an opportunity to look at some homes that might fit your family's needs using this rehab loan and making it like you want it.
So the moral of today's discussion, if you will, on rehab loans is don't run away from a home that needs a little work. A little TLC, like you said, that was listed on that home. There's certainly alternatives available. And I would think sometimes if you really like the layout, you really like the neighborhood, everything is fabulous, you're going to love that home even more because you may like it. You may almost love it when you move into it, but there's just a couple of things you'd like to tweak. Well, now you really get to redo that kitchen, that bathroom, and make it the colors and the look and everything you want. That's kind of exciting.
It is.
So now I see why there's so many of those shows on HDTV where they go in and do all the rehab and stuff, because you're right. Yes, when they're done, they look fantastic.
Well, the big point there, Dave, is if you go pay $200 for a home, you don't have any equity. You've borrowed close to that. You can't go borrow the money to do the improvements. Why not work that into your loan amount at the same interest rate as your loan and get the money to do the rehab that you'd like to do?
All right. Well, this show is moving along. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes to wrap things up, and we'll talk about what to expect in the housing market in the second half of 2024, because we're halfway through June. Can you believe it?
Hard to believe.
Wally's got his crystal ball warmed up, so he's going to give you all the predictions.
Stick around. That's coming up next.
Hey, it's Wally. Don't forget that I'll sell your home guaranteed at a price agreeable to you or buy it myself for more than most investors will pay. To get my guarantee in writing, call or text me today at your home sold guaranteed realty at 330-3000. 330-3000.
Best Protect Roofing and Construction has been serving the Oklahoma community since 2017 with trusted professionals and a proven track record. Best Protect Roofing and Construction has the local knowledge to ensure every roofing project is compliant and hassle-free. They offer free roof inspections to assess damage, provide accurate quotes, and recommend the best solution for your home. Call today, 405-473-9599. Best Protect Roofing and Construction.
Could your home sell faster and for more money if it were in better condition? For one reasonable flat fee, we're willing to advance you the money to make needed repairs or improvements when you list your home for sale with us. It's Kerr Team's Get Your Home Ready program, allowing you to sell your home faster and for more money. Call Wally at your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty today at 330-3000 to find out more. And remember, if you're selling your home, Wally has the buyers. Call me today at 330-3000.
Finding the right mortgage can be stressful, from knowing which program fits your situation the best to identifying the best terms. Hi, I'm Chris Doak with Gateway Mortgage. I work closely with you every step of the way, from pre-qualification to helping you choose the home loan that's right for you. My promise is to provide transparency, timely communication, personal service, and closings on time. Call me today at 405-253-2276. That's 405-253-2276.
NMLS 984758. Gateway Mortgage, a division of Gateway First Bank. NMLS 7233. Equal housing lender.
The Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show is presented every weekend at 11 a.m. on Saturday, and the show repeats Sundays at noon right here on KOKC. Let's get back to the discussions about how to buy right and sell for more with Wally and Cindy, along with Dave McKay.
We're back to wrap up the show, and Wally, I think the Fed met again this week.
They did.
You mentioned something off air a little bit. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, their decision was exactly what we thought. They left the Fed's rate unchanged, but they did make an emphatic statement this week.
Okay.
Where they said they don't believe there will be but one rate reduction this year.
This year.
That's what they said.
Is that good or bad for home sellers and buyers? Tell me.
It's expected, isn't it, Wally?
It's expected, and I think that first of all, if you were waiting for rates to come down to sell your home, you don't need to do that. The inventory is low, and you could probably sell for a good price if you were waiting to buy. Let's talk about an article and jump in here, Dave, as we wrap up. I saw this on CNBC a few days ago. I don't know if you did. It was a featured article about the housing market for the remainder of this year. So these are several points of discussion that we've been talking about. They said right now there are more homes coming on the market, and I see that here in the Oklahoma City market too.
Okay.
So the market's seeing more listings, but the boost in supply is still not enough to attract buyers with rates where they are right now.
Yes.
Did you hear what we said a minute ago? The rate has remained unchanged this week. Looks like the Fed won't change rates until maybe later this year, maybe September, maybe November, maybe December. So listings have trended generally upward. suggesting to us that there's just a rising number of current homeowners who can't put off moving any longer.
Sure.
They're ready to get it done. There's some movement on interest rates. So the interest rates have moved back and forth. There was some improvement last week. This Fed decision kind of locked that up a little bit, and I think that lenders are going to leave their rates right where they are. While mortgage rates are forecast by some to maybe come down to 6.5% in the fourth quarter, Dave, CNBC said home buyers just may not see much relief. With rising home prices and limited housing inventory, it's very possible that they're going to end up paying the same mortgage payment because they're purchasing a home that has a lower interest rate, but it's got a higher price point.
Sure. You can always refinance, and the home values are always going to go up. So it's really easy. Why wait? If you have to move, or you're looking to move, or you want to buy that house, if you put it off, those home values are just going to keep going up. And you thought you were at a price point for $400,000, $425,000. Well, that $400,000 and $425,000 next June or the June after, even if that rate ticks down 1/5 of 1 point, boy, you're paying still more. The interest rate isn't your big problem anymore. Now the home values keep going up. So you really should get into home ownership as quickly as possible.
You know, you're right, Dave. And I would say that there's no guarantee that prices are always going to go up. But historically, they have continued to go up. And it's hard to foresee prices really cooling. While the housing market has slowed in terms of the number of transactions, the prices really haven't softened. Seems like we're going to see another record high for home prices this summer. And there are reports that the median home price across the U.S. is up over 4%.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's a very good market. Now, watch your affordability. Maybe you were going to jump into a $400,000 home and you really wanted to move. Gosh, go see if you can find something for $300,000 or $325,000 to where you're not house poor. You can keep money in that slush fund.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, if you
Make
need
a
to
good
move,
decision.
maybe you wanted a bigger home this summer. Maybe you scale that down just a little bit, and maybe that's a stepping stone to your next higher property when either your income increases, maybe the market corrects a little bit. I don't know. The big one today is there's such a limited inventory of housing. I think that's going to take a bunch of years to fix. I think that home values, especially here in Oklahoma, in a pretty moderate state,
Yes.
where it doesn't swing as much as the East and West Coasts, right,
Yes,
Cindy?
absolutely.
I think that home values will continue to appreciate here, and home ownership's a good thing to get into. You know, I sat down with some folks in Edmond just a few days ago with my business partner, Kelly Duran, in a great neighborhood. We'll be listing this home in Thornbrook Manor at 639.5, and that home will be on the market here in the next week or so. If you know of someone looking for a great 4-bed, 3.5-bath, 3-car that's gorgeous and only about 8 years old, call me and ask me about the Thornbrook home. But Dave, when we walked in and did a presentation to these very educated sellers, we told them their home was worth more money than they thought. If you've got a home and you're thinking about selling and making this jump and thinking maybe I will go ahead and make a step this year, you might be surprised what we'll tell you your home is worth in the current market. So call me or Cindy this next week at 330-3000 or today, and I can run some numbers, give you an idea of what it might be worth, take a look at it with you, and with a 10-minute tour, I can tell you within probably an hour how much it might bring. You may have more equity in your home today than what you thought. You can use that money to put down to make your next purchase, and that might ultimately make that next purchase more affordable enough for your family to make a move now as opposed to waiting.
Literally just a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. What are we doing for Father's Day tomorrow? Any big plans?
Well, I was looking to see what I might recommend for the boys to offer to Wally, and I know the zoo is just something he loves so much, and the grandkids.
Great.
So I think there was a car show I saw publicized too, but I think you've kind of decided on the zoo.
Yeah,
Is
we're
that
planning on
right?
hitting the zoo before it gets hot tomorrow morning. It
Okay.
opens at 9 a.m. Plan on hitting the zoo at 9:30. Take a lunch with us tomorrow. Enjoy the day with the grandkids. It gives the little girls a lot to do, to run and use some of that energy, which I
Yes.
would much rather them use it on the animals instead of on their G-pop.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of energy. So what about you, Dave? What's Father's Day look like for you tomorrow?
You know, I think we might play a little golf. We might go to Top Golf, actually. That way we could just get in and play a little bit.
To all of our listeners, happy Father's Day. And if you have a dad, go love on him. And if you've got kids, love on them too.
Happy Father's Day.
This has been the Your Home Sold Guaranteed radio show with Wally and Cindy Kerr. Heard every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and replayed on Sundays at noon right here on 1520 a.m. and 95.3 FM KOKC. Selling or buying a home is a major decision in life, and you can place your trust in Wally and Cindy as local experts with over 35 years of real estate experience. Call or text them today at 330-3000 to request a personal visit or consultation. And be sure to visit WallyTalksHouses.com to access the library of shows and topics available for download.